We are live. What is up, everybody? What is up? Good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. It's early evening for everybody out on the East Coast. I am Ron Placone. You are watching Status Coup. The date is Thursday, January 18th, 2024. Got a lot of fun breaking news for you. We got some updates on Israel. I don't know if it's certainly not all fun. I retract that. I don't know why that was my automatic descriptor. We got a lot of fun stuff. The world's great. It's not. Not all this is, but you know what I mean. We got a lot of stuff for you. We got an update on Israel Palestine. We're going to be diving into some of that. Also, Biden and Yemen. There's a common theme in the first couple stories today. Also, for those of you who are familiar, usually when I host the show, we start international, then go domestic. That's what we're doing today as well. So we're going to start with some Israel, Palestine, some Yemen, and then we're going to go domestic. And the international theme today is saying the quiet part out loud. That is not intentionally, but happens to be the theme for today's show in the international space. Domestically, we got an update on Flint due to the work of Jordan Cheriton. You're going to see more extensive coverage of that on this channel. Keep in mind, Status Coup is pretty much the only outlet still covering Flint. Smash the like button. Smash it. Also, we got an update on the net neutrality battle. And we got a crazy story in Kentucky. We got a story out of Kentucky that lands under, I can't believe they did this. Is this serious? Or is this for real? You've got to be kidding me. This can't be real. It's one of those types of stories. And also, the Iowa primary happened, of course. We could start there for just a minute. And Trump won the Iowa GOP primary. I don't know about you. I saw a bunch of people online going, oh, how could Iowa be so stupid? How could they be so stupid? Trump won, which I get to an extent. I would never support Trump in a million years. But here's my question, though. What would have been the positive outcome of said GOP primary? What would have been the intelligent direction? You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they went for Trump. Ron DeSantis was right there. Nikki Haley was right there. How did they go for Trump? It's like just three floating turds. And they're like, how did they go for that one? Like, that there was no, like, good outcome there. Just wasn't a thing. Do you guys know that in Iowa, I believe the final number was 25. 25 people voted for Chris Christie. What likely happened there was it was 25 people who had who just weren't paying attention at all, showed up to vote anyway, didn't even know Chris Christie dropped out, recognized the name, voted for him. Or the funnier scenario, the way funnier scenario is that in Iowa, there are 25 people who are just going, we can still do this. Chris Christie's the guy. This is the hero we need. Desperate times call for the true leadership of Chris Christie. That guy has dropped out of so many presidential elections. He makes Peter Dow blush. Like, that guy is just, I remember the last time I hosted on this, it was like right when Chris Christie actually announced he dropped out, as if anyone didn't see that coming. And some people were like, breaking news, Chris Christie dropped out. I was like, that is not breaking, nor is it news. That is just the least surprising thing ever. Chris Christie has already dropped out of the 2028 election, by the way. Chris Christie has already formed a committee and dropped out in 2028, just in case you were wondering. But I think it's hilarious to entertain the idea that Chris Christie has some kind of cult in Iowa of 25 people who are just dedicated to his cause. Like, we got to get Chris Christie in. He's the hero we need. So anyway, 25 people voted for him, and it's going to be a doozy of an election year. That's what's going on over on the GOP side. Over on the Democratic side, they're just like, democracy's on the ballot. No, we're not having a primary. You got to vote to save democracy. You mean the one that thumbs its nose in public opinion on literally everything, and we don't even get a primary? Yeah, that's the one. You got a problem? Yeah, actually, I got a lot of problems. Well, shut up. Shut up. How's the weather in Russia? Buckle in, folks. It's an election year. Buckle in for all that. But let's start let's start with the Bibi Netanyahu news, Colin. If we could go to that. This is quite something. This is from the AP. Netanyahu says that he told the U.S. that he opposes a Palestinian state in any post-war scenario. Just straight up, just opposes it. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday rejected U.S. calls to scale back Israel's military offensive in the Gaza Strip or take steps towards the establishment of a Palestinian state after the war, drawing an immediate scolding from the White House. Was it a tough scolding? Was it a firm scolding by the White House? The tense back and forth reflected what has become a wide rift between the two allies over the scope of Israel's war and its plans for the future. Now, by the way, this is being a little bit rosy to the United States. This is clearly written to make, because they know that the public is very tired of this war. The public does not want this war to happen. Most of the world supports a ceasefire. So they're trying to make it out like, well, the United States is pushing for peace. We obviously see it differently, White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said. Netanyahu spoke just a day after the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Israel would never have genuine security without a pathway towards Palestinian independence. In a nationally televised news conference. I struggled with that one. In a nationally televised news conference, Netanyahu struck a defiant tone, repeatedly saying that Israel would not hold its offensive until it realizes its goal of destroying Gaza's Hamas militant group and bringing home all remaining hostages held by Hamas. He rejected claims by a growing chorus of Israeli critics that those goals are not achievable, vowing to press ahead for many months. We will not settle for anything short of an absolute victory. So there he is, just straight up saying it out loud, that it's like, no, I'm not okay with the state. We're just going to keep bombing and bombing and bombing. And he doesn't give a hoot what the U.S. thinks, even though the U.S. is just blatantly funding it. You know, the AP piece makes it out like the U.S. is pushing back more than they actually are. In reality, the U.S. has the same foreign interest because they're profiteering off of the war. So, but there he is, just saying it out loud, just saying like, yeah, we're not going to have a state. We're not going to do that. We're just going to keep bombing. And boy, does this sound familiar. Until Hamas is completely wiped out. Doesn't this sound a lot like we're just going to keep bombing the Middle East until all the terrorists are gone? We've launched a war on terror. What does that mean exactly? We don't know. But we got to take them all out. And, turns out they weren't in Iraq. Turns out they weren't here. Turns out they weren't there, but they're here. Similar type of thing here, isn't it? Oh, we're targeting Hamas. So wait, why did you bomb this hospital? Hamas was there. No, they weren't. Oh, yeah, they weren't. Whoops. Sorry. What did these thousands of innocent children have to do with Hamas? We don't know. Stop asking questions. War's a racket. Smedley Butler wrote the book a long time ago. War's a racket. Let's go to that other tweet, Colin. And we have the video too, I believe. Let's go ahead and watch that video from Israel's Minister of National Security.
מה אתה מציע שנשנה? אני מציע קודם כל שאנחנו לא נצא ממרכזי הערים בעזה. דבר ראשון. דבר שני, אני מציע, ואני אומר את זה בצורה הכי מפורשת.
להישאר שם, עם הצבא,
לכבוש את עזה, כן, להישאר שם.
ולהיות אחראים לתושבי עזה.
לא, מה שיכול וצריך לקדם זה תוכנית הגירה, עידוד מרצון כמובן, שיאפשר להם ללכת...
אתה מאוד שצה"ל יהיה בתוך עזה, ומרצון נגרש אותם. וזה מעשי?
אודי, בוודאי. אם אנחנו נכריע אותם, בוודאי שזה מעשי.
So I don't know if any of that was difficult for you to read there, and I apologize if it was, but he was literally saying we're just going to occupy them. We're just going to occupy them. We're going to keep occupying them, but we're going to try to make a thing that they could leave. Like we might make it that they could leave if they want to. I mean, imagine that happening in your home. Hey, we're here. We're just going to occupy you. You can leave if you want to. Maybe we're thinking about doing something like that where you could leave. We're still going to be here. We're still going to occupy you. I mean, this is just blatantly saying we have no desire in a resolution. We have no desire for peace. We're just going to keep bombing. And you know the U.S. is going to support it because they make money from that, baby. And most of the world has called for a ceasefire. Most of the world has said this needs to stop. Thousands of innocent people died for no reason. No one's okay with what Hamas did on October 7th. No one's okay with that. However, to just commit a straight up genocide and bomb thousands of innocent people, many of them children, that's not the response. And the entire world is realizing that. I mean, a lot of the world realized that right away, but now more and more are realizing it. That two things can be true at the same time. That, yes, Hamas, it's terrible what they did. Absolutely terrible. But what the Israeli government did, completely unacceptable, completely horrific and terrible. And the Pope is calling for a ceasefire. The freaking Pope's like, ceasefire. Biden claims to be Catholic, doesn't he? Your religious leader is calling for a ceasefire, Joe, and you won't. Most of the world, even other right-wing governments around the world, are calling for a ceasefire. Not the U.S. Not the U.S. And there they are, just saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, we have no desire letting them be a state. We have no desire in not occupying them. We'll always occupy them, and we're just going to continue to destroy everything. And according to the AP, oh, the U.S. is unhappy about that. They're going to be stern. They're going to write a stern letter. Will they, though? Because here's a situation where the U.S. is leading the charge. I mean, they're leading the charge in Israel-Palestine, too, in a sense. But you know what I mean. Where the U.S. is directly, governmentally leading the charge. And here's what Joe Biden had to say. Here's what Joe Biden had to say about the recent strikes in Yemen, which, by the way, isn't it amazing? Joe Biden would not use the bully pulpit to push for anything that helps regular people. He would not use executive orders for anything. He could have declared a public health crisis. He could have given everyone health care via executive order. Yes, he could have. He could wipe student debt out with the stroke of a pen. He could declare a climate emergency. All kinds of things he could do via executive order. He did none of them. None of them. And look, I get it. He's a president, not a dictator. I get it. Not everything just lands on the president. It lands on everybody, the entire federal government. I totally get that. But so many people, especially now, because it's an election year, are giving Biden a pass, despite the fact there's so many things he could have done via executive order. And this is the same. We've heard this record before. It's the same thing they said when Obama didn't do a bunch of stuff he could have. Read the book, Listen Liberal, if you're curious. All kinds of things Obama could have done. He didn't do any of them. Governed like Reagan. And that helped give us Trump later. Well, the same thing is happening again. He governed like Reagan because he is Reagan. Joe Biden is Rip Van Reagan. The cycle continues. But anyway, Joe Biden didn't use his executive order powers for anything like that. He did use his executive order powers to bomb Yemen, by the way. And a bunch of people, a lot of people online, and I'm sure you saw this, if you talked about his decision to do that and how it was wrong, you probably got some pushback from people go, oh, well, it was justified, though, because he was going after the terrorist that committed this. Boy, we've heard this record before, too, haven't we? And it was mostly, Biden defending liberals. If you're kind of newer to the game, which I know there's some people a little bit newer to the political game because it's an election year and you always get some newer people on an election year. Welcome. Welcome to Status Coup. I am Ron Placone, your host today. The biggest difference between a liberal and a leftist. Liberals are okay with war. Leftists aren't. That's the biggest difference. There's other differences too, obviously. But the biggest one, liberals, cool with war. Leftists, not cool with war. So you probably got some pushback, maybe from Biden. No, I got a lot on Twitter, and it was all from Biden defending liberals. Like, oh no, he's got to do something because of the terrorists and this and that. Well, here's what Biden had to say about his own strikes. Let's go to that video, Colin.
Are the airstrikes in Yemen working?
Well, when you say working, are they stopping the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes.
Are they stopping the Houthis? The thing that he said he was supposed to do, the thing that all of his defenders said he had to do, he had to stop the Houthis. So he had to just bomb Yemen. That was going to stop the Houthis. So he bombed Yemen. It's not stopping the Houthis. It didn't, and it's still not. But he's going to keep doing it anyway. I mean, that was, by the way, that was the stuff that Trump used to do that would make the powers that be mad at him. Trump was really bad at like saying the quiet part out loud. Trump would do that. He go, we're gonna keep bombing them till we get the oil, right? Shh, don't say that. Don't say that. You're not allowed to say that part. We're not just brutalizing people for oil and natural resources. We're spreading democracy. We're rescuing them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't say that. Here's Biden like, well, is it stopping the Houthis? Like we said, no, but we're going to keep doing it anyway. During an election year, too, no less. I mean, this guy, like, what planet is he on? And they're just going to run him again. There's not even a primary. There's a non-existent primary. They're just going to run him again, which, by the way, please do smash the like button. Welcome to Status Coup. Anyone just tuning in, smash the like button, like this stream, share this stream, and leave a super chat, would you? I want to talk to you. I'll get to all the super chats towards the end of the show. And I realize it looks like, and we'll make a formal announcement soon here, but it looks like I'm going to be coming back to you on a weekly basis, which I'm very, very excited about. I hope you are as well. I look forward to seeing y'all more often. So we're going to get back to doing the polls at the beginning. I know that, because I was kind of filling in here and there, and it was, sometimes a little last minute, we hadn't been doing the polls as much. But now that it looks like it's going to be back to a regular thing. By the way, some of you may have seen on social media, I was supposed to be here yesterday, but because of the event in DC, which I hope y'all enjoyed that live stream, I got to catch a little of it from Johnny F on the ones and twos. Because of the event in DC, my day was pushed to today. But it looks like I'm going to be coming back at you regularly, so we will be bringing the polls back. So look forward to that in the future. Sorry I did not have one today, but we will definitely have one in the future. And smash the like button, leave a super chat. So there you go. The Israeli government, Bibi Netanyahu, saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, we just want to occupy them indefinitely. We just want to bomb them indefinitely. That's it. Joe Biden saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, we're not stopping the people we said we were there to stop, but we're going to keep bombing anyway. We're just going to keep bombing Yemen. And by the way, keep in mind, everybody, all the stuff that we covered thus far in the show, all of that stuff, killing innocent people around the world. That's why you don't have health care. That's why you don't have educational opportunities. That's why we're doing nothing about the climate. That's why we have crumbling infrastructure. That's why we don't have living wages. That's why we don't have all of these other things that first world countries are just supposed to have at this point. The United States just straight up doesn't have them. This is why Flint doesn't have clean water. We're going to go there in a little bit. It's because we have an economy of war. It's because all the stuff Joe Biden's doing in Yemen, the thing that's not working but is just killing people, it's not, quote unquote, doing what it's supposed to do. We're supposed to stop the Houthis. Did you do that? No. Are you going to stop bombing then? No. Innocent people being killed. Reason why things are so terrible domestically. Foreign policy is domestic policy. We don't have all the social safety nets that other first world countries just have. And I'm not saying utopia is out there. It isn't. But you don't see people go bankrupt over medical bills in Canada or the UK or anywhere in the EU. You don't see people going into debt for a lifetime because they wanted to go to college. Doesn't happen over there. You don't see people have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to survive. You don't see disabled people being left to die because they can't get any help. Actually, sometimes you do see that. Canada in particular does have some problems going on there, but you don't see it at the scale that you do here typically. So let's go domestic. Let's go to some of that. Let's go to Flint. Jordan wrote a piece on Flint. We're going to be going through it, and of course, Jordan will be covering this more extensively here on Status Coup, but I wanted to cover it some as well because I think it's so important. This is Inside Dana Nessel's Shit Show, Flint Water Investigation. Kudos to my colleague Jordan Sheraton for getting shit in the title. I appreciate that. I really do. Ignored legal warnings, overwhelmed prosecutors, and the secret testimony of ex-Governor Snyder's chief of staff. So get this. I mean, this first sentence alone should just blow your mind. As the decade anniversary of the Flint water crisis nears in April, it has been a decade that Flint, and by the way, it's not just Flint in the United States. There's places in Jersey going through something similar. There are places in the United States where they have tainted water. Water. It's right. You need it. You can't mess around with water. But by the way, they're trying to straight up commodify water. They're trying to privatize our water all across the country. They're even trying to do it in the so-called progressive utopia of California, where I live. California's not a progressive state, by the way. You know a progressive state? None of them. It's the United States. There is no progressive. Maybe there's a progressive neighborhood somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Eugene, Oregon. Kind of. Maybe. But as far as like a progressive state, it doesn't exist because you're still in the U.S. And I've lived in the Northwest. I used to live in Seattle. I've lived in the South, in Nashville, Tennessee. I've lived in the Midwest. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I went to college in Indiana. I spent a period of time in Florida. The only corner of the country I've never lived in is the Northeast. But my wife is from Massachusetts, so I've spent a good amount of time there, even though I've never actually lived there. I feel like at some point I got to go live in Massachusetts for a little bit just so I could say. But I have spent, again, I've spent some periods of time up there. So maybe we can count. No, we can't. But my point is, I've been around this country. There is no actual progressive place. So anyway, I mean, saying it's like, well, this is the most progressive place in the United States. That's like saying, like, I'm the best football player on this hockey team. Okay, but you're not a football player. No, but I'm the best one on this hockey team. Well, are you good at football? No, but I'm the most progressive place in the United States. Are you progressive at all? No, not really. Not. We're just. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's get back to Flint. As the decade anniversary of the Flint water crisis nears in April, a decade. And on the heels of Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel ending her office's Flint criminal investigation after the state Supreme Court threw out its criminal charges against ex-Governor Rick Snyder and 8 other officials, Metro Times uncovered details of what insiders described as a chaotic 4-year investigation doomed by overwhelmed prosecutors and poor decisions from the start. Metro Times also confirmed that Dennis Munchmore, Snyder's chief of staff during the early 2014-2015 period of the Flint water crisis, testified in front of the secretive one-man grand jury that Nessel's office chose to use in order to issue indictments against Snyder and 8 other state and Flint city officials in 2021. It's against the court order for me to confirm or deny participating in that proceeding, Munchmore tells Metro Times. If I responded, which I would like to do, I'd be in violation and could be held in contempt of court. Muchmore declined further comment. In other words, they wouldn't say much more. Sorry, I had to. It was right there. It was right there. I had to do it. Some of you are rolling your eyes. I don't blame you. I would roll my eyes at me too. But could you? How could you not? You all thought it. Don't be mad at me. Although the nature of his testimony is unknown, legal sources tell Metro Times it's likely Muchmore's involvement was as a witness for Nessel's prosecutors against Snyder and other Snyder administration officials. Despite Muchmore and other witnesses' testimony in a unanimous June 2022 decision, the state Supreme Court ruled that Nessel's office's use of a one-man grand jury in the Flint prosecution violated the state constitution, ultimately invalidating all Flint criminal charges filed by Nessel's office. Multiple sources described Nessel's Flint investigation team as being composed of attorneys she knew and handpicked. So basically, they just stacked. It's like they stacked the courts, basically. They stacked the courts so that it wasn't an honest procedure. That was what they did. And boy, And obviously Jordan is going to lead the coverage here as he should. I mean, Jordan has been on this beat for for pretty much the duration. I mean Jordan's been on it from day one. And Status Coup is pretty much the only outlet that has stayed on it. I mean, you never hear about Flint in the corporate press. I would argue, I bet the last time you heard about Flint in the corporate media was when Michelle Wolf, the comedian, mentioned it at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And what year was that? That was here. I'm gonna look it up because Michelle Wolf. I forget which year she was the Correspondents' Dinner. 2018. It was 2018. And she closed by saying Flint still doesn't have clean water. That was in 2018 she did that. Oh my God. All right, so let's look at this. In April 2014, Flint switched to the Flint River as a temporary source while the KWA pipeline was under construction. Nonetheless, Nessel fired Flood, Arena, and most of the original Flint team. She replaced Flood with Fado Hamad, a prosecutor in the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office who helped her campaign fundraise. Joining Hamad was Kim Worthy. That's an interesting name. Kim Worthy, the longtime Wayne County prosecutor. They were essentially just ripping up our work and starting from scratch. Noah Hall, a Wayne State law professor who served as an assistant attorney general on Flood's team, tells Metro Times. And Nessel, of course, fired Hall along with Flood and Arena. Politically charged show trials. As a candidate in 2018, Nessel vocally criticized the ongoing Flint investigation as politically charged show trials that were moving too slowly. The AG candidate foreshadowed that if elected, she would overhaul the investigation and fire Flood. Her criticism was very unusual. A legal source familiar with the Flint proceedings says about a candidate for AG who had no access to confidential documents, legal discovery, or information on impending charges to publicly criticize an investigation they might take over. I don't remember anything the candidate Dana Nessel said about the investigation that struck me as particularly insightful or informed. Oh, this is just all politics. Don't pay any attention to this. How do you know? I just know. So basically, the court case was just set up in such a way that those responsible for this crisis are not going to be held to account. And Jordan Chariton literally wrote the book on this. I can't wait to read it. I'm excited to read Jordan's book. I wish he didn't have to write it. I think it's sad it had to be done because this happened. But all one can do is hope that Flint is a warning to the rest of the country, because this can happen anywhere, and it has happened in other places. Again, Flint is not alone. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. Similar stuff to this, like this, goes on in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania, in particular Western Pennsylvania, is home to the Marcellus Shale, which means there's a ton of fracking that goes on in Western Pennsylvania. It ruins people's lands and it contaminates water wells. And there are parts in rural Pennsylvania where people also do not have access to clean water. I covered that story on this show. There's that woman. She has to use the bathroom outside because they privatized a bunch of stuff. Her water bills are so high now that she can't afford it. She can't afford to pay her sewage. And then water wells get tainted because it's all privatized. It's absolutely criminal what they're doing. You know, in other countries, they have potable water just coming out of fountains, literally. But like they just have, like, you can walk in a city center and they just have fountains and it's water and you can drink it. Here in the United States, you can't get clean water out of your faucet in many cases. You can't get clean water. Sometimes you can't flush your toilet. I mean, many metrics indicate the United States isn't even a first world country anymore. And I would say it isn't. It isn't. In other first world countries, education is considered a human right. Not here. In other first world countries, the arts are considered essential to life and get a little bit of funding. I mean, it's not like countries are spending a fortune on the arts, but they fund the arts. Arts get funding. And by the way, you feel that. I mean, as a stand-up comedian, let me tell you something. And I know there's a ton of issues, but you kind of see the connections throughout all this stuff. As a stand-up comedian, I have reached the point in my career, or whatever you want to call it, I prefer performing in other countries than in the United States. Because in other countries, even in the comedy club model, it is treated the same as theater or something like that. In the United States, when you do the comedy club circuit here, you're basically just a vehicle for them to sell more drinks that usually have goofy names, like Punchlines Gin, whatever the hell. Like drinks, and then you have the wait staff going around during a show. I mean, you kind of take a step back and realize, and I'm not criticizing them. They're doing their job, and they have an incredibly hard job. I'm criticizing the model where it's like you have people going around taking drink orders while somebody is doing comedic material. This is like stand-up comedy is not an art form you can enjoy passively. It's like you have to be zoned in on it. It like you're creating a whole vibe. Anyway, and so you see, part of the reason for that is because there's no arts funding in the United States. There's arts funding in other countries. So yes, do venues all around the world want to sell booze, want to sell food? Of course they do. But because they get a little bit of grant money and a little bit of money that they can be a sustainable venture, they don't need to freaking build their whole model around it, and they can actually care about the art form itself. Gee, isn't that nice? So obviously that is not to the magnitude of what's going on in Flint. I'm not even trying to compare the two. I'm just saying the big disease here is freaking capitalism. And you see how it can be argued the United States isn't even a first world country anymore. So that's what's going on in Flint. Here at Status Coup, we continue to cover Flint. Jordan Cheriton in particular, he literally has a book coming out about it. And guys, I got to say it, we can't do this without you. We cannot go on the ground without your support. Journalism, it costs resources. It costs money. That's just the reality. So please, if you are able, go to statuscoup.com/join and sign up to become a member. There's a $5 a month level, a $10 a month level. If you can, and I know times are tough. Look, if you can't manage that, I totally get it. There's all kinds of ways you can support this stream that doesn't cost anything. Like these streams, share them. Make sure you're subscribed because YouTube unsubscribes people. Check your subscription. Do all that stuff. But if you're thinking, you know what, I can spare an extra $5 a month, an extra $10 a month, please, you are helping us go on the ground in Flint. The Status Coup did not let this story go away. You're helping us go on the ground in East Palestine. You're helping us cover the strikes and protests around the world. Status Coup was the only outlet, not just in the country, in the world, that covered the UAW strike from start to finish. We were the only one. The only one. I think, I can't say it 100% for sure, but I think the hotel strike in my neighborhood, we were the only one. Because I showed up there. Some of you guys saw that. I covered the hotel strike in my neighborhood, San Pedro, California. They were like, oh, the news is here. Like, it was like no one else had shown up. So Status Coup is filling the void that the corporate media is leaving out of their own laziness and out of their own desire for profit. Again, there goes that capitalism rearing its head again. In other first world countries, something like Status Coup would be funded by governmental grant money. If Status Coup was in Norway, Status Coup would be funded. They have an oversight media board in Norway, and it consists of academics and journalists and media makers and newsmakers. And they would fund outlets like Status Coup. But we're in the U.S., so all we have is each other. So your membership makes Status Coup possible, and we cannot do it without you. And you know what? You get a lot of cool perks. Jordan does a members call. Sometimes I'm there. Sometimes Tina's there. Sometimes Status Lou's there. Sometimes Colin's there. There's also all kinds of cool behind-the-scenes videos. Johnny F. and I did some videos. What's up, Colin?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, actually, just today, we released a member video of John Farina on his way back from the March for Gaza, took a subway, and all the protesters were there and still doing their chants and sort of doing some fun stuff like that on the way home. So that's,
yeah.
If you're a member, make sure you go check out the member section.
There you go.
Take a look.
Yeah, so there you go. We just did another one today. Johnny F did another one on his way back from the protest. When I was with Johnny F, we did a bunch of fun stuff in the Midwest. We did some kind of casual talk. It was a good time. StatusCoup.com/join if you are able. All right, I think it is time. For the actually, you know what? We're gonna do Kentucky last. Let's go to so when it comes to COVID. I mean, there is just no consensus amidst people. It is absolutely remarkable to me how divisive all of it has become. Like it's remarkable. It still blows my mind. I had somebody literally today having a meltdown over a video where a bunch of college students were in a classroom and they had masks on. Having a meltdown about it. He's like, "Why are they wearing masks?" I'm like, "Well, cases are up. And long COVID is still very effed up. There is no cure for long COVID, and it can be very debilitating. So they're taking a precaution." It blows my mind that basic precautions during a public health crisis is somehow seen as political, is somehow seen as divisive. I will never understand it. I haven't since 2020, and I never will. As a guy, I mean, I still mask indoors. Why? Because it's a small inconvenience for an extra layer of protection. You know, and I know that it's not 100% foolproof. Like if I was having to get on an elevator and somebody said, "Hey, everybody on this elevator has COVID, but don't worry, you can wear your mask." Guess what? I'm still going to take the stairs. I'm going to say, "You know what? I'm glad I have my mask, but I don't think I want to be on an elevator with everybody having COVID. I'll take the stairs." But, you know, so it's like I realize that wearing a mask doesn't make you Superman. In fact, Superman didn't wear a mask. But wearing a mask, it helps. It helps. Is it a small inconvenience? Yeah. Is it comfortable? No. But it's a much smaller, way smaller of an inconvenience than, you know, COVID. Way smaller than that. So, yeah, I don't mind wearing a mask indoors. It's not a big deal to me. It's an extra layer of protection. It's amazing to me that we live in a world. So, oh, look at you masking indoors. I bet you don't have a problem with transgender people. I don't, but I'm very confused how those two things are related. I honestly believe this, and I'm not even trying. I believe that in 10 years, in the United States, people will be shamed for washing their hands. I'm not kidding. I think that in 10 years, you're going to see someone will be washing their hands in public and someone will go, "Oh, look at you washing your hands. I bet you want to take my guns away." What the hell? And I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding. I'm sure there's people in the chat having meltdowns right now. I mean, I'm not looking, so I don't know, but I'd imagine there's probably people freaking out right now. It's incredible to me. Basic precautions during a public health crisis is somehow divisive and political. Blows my mind. But anyway, I used to think that the one thing everybody could agree on, you know, whether or not you agree or disagree on anything else, be it masks, vaccines, whatever, the one thing I would think everybody could agree on, everybody, whether you're on the left, the right, in between, is that when you're sick, stay home. Sick people shouldn't be at work. Sick people shouldn't be at school. Sick people should be home and resting so that they get better. That's why it's called being sick. Now, that is too much to ask. Holy shit. Let's go to the headline, Colin. New California COVID guidance. People can go to work or school if they're asymptomatic. Oh my God. The California Department of Public Health has updated its COVID-19 guidance for people who have tested positive but are asymptomatic. You can be asymptomatic, still spread it, by the way. Under the guidance posted earlier this month, those who are asymptomatic can now continue to go to work or school Oh, they're expected to mask up, though. Don't worry. They have COVID. They have to wear a mask, though. Rebecca Fielding Miller, a social epidemiologist at UC San Diego, finds that frustrating as a public health researcher. Any public health researcher who doesn't find that frustrating should lose their job. If there is a public, and I know they're out there, by the way, because they're being paid off by who knows what. Any public health researcher that says, yes, it is fine that people with COVID are going to work in school, they should immediately lose their job. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. You're a public health professional. Nobody, if you have the flu, you should not be at work or school. If you have, I mean, I get it. If you have a mild cold, okay, that's different. You have a little bit of a runny nose. All right, that's one thing. But when you have a legit illness, you should not be at work or school. I mean, that's freaking nuts. She said that while COVID-19 cases are no longer overwhelming the healthcare system, the disease is still very infectious. Yes, that's why people are getting it over and over and over again. One thing that's really important to remember about this virus, it has a really impressive ability to mutate. And so we've seen people that can get infected over and over and over again. And the constant reinfection increases a person's risk for long COVID, she said. Another concerning factor for Fielding Miller is that vaccination rates are also low, especially among children. Despite that, some school districts are starting to adopt the state's guidance. I mean, just take a step back. And what is this saying culturally? What does this say? You know what it's saying? That this is not a country. This is literally a work cult. This is a freaking work cult. I mean, even the stuff you see, Bernie Sanders, for an instance, Bernie Sanders recently tested positive for COVID. And he said, oh, I tested positive for COVID. I'm going to continue to work remotely. Rest. You are 80 years old. You should not be working remotely. You should be resting. When you get COVID, you need to rest. Because if you don't, it could cause even more damage to you. I mean, the research is out there where it's like it shrunk people's brains. It caused organ damage, especially in children. If you get COVID, you freaking rest. I mean, it's unbelievable. And anyone, if you think it is in any way acceptable that somebody with COVID should be at work or at school, you're out of your freaking mind. You're out of your freaking mind. I mean, come on. How ridiculous. I mean, it's bad enough that as a society, we've just decided, hey, let her rip. Who cares? But man, now it's like, oh, well, if you're sick, at least stay home. Nope, we've decided that's too much to ask. We've decided you could just go to work or school with COVID. This is not a society. This is a cult. This is a freaking work cult. Oh. And by the way, this is sunny California. This is good job. Gavin Newsom, great governor. He's the best. I can't wait till he runs for president. That'll be a doozy. I will never vote for that guy under any circumstance. Under any circumstance. I supported him. Well, I didn't support him, but I was not supportive of the recall. And the reason I was not was because I knew what would happen if Larry Elder was governor. If Larry Elder would have been governor, they would have privatized our water supply. All right. That's what would have happened. I knew that couldn't happen. So I was like, okay, I'm going to, not support the recall. I'm going to vote for Gavin Newsom to keep his job. He does not deserve to keep his job. But, the way the recall works is like you vote either for or against the recall, and then you vote for a candidate. So I voted against the recall, and then I voted for the socialist. So when people say, oh, you voted for Gavin Newsom, no, I didn't. I voted for the socialist, but I voted against the recall. If you don't understand how recalls work in California, that's fine, but maybe you shouldn't talk about it if you don't know. Anyway, but man, that guy, and he's itching to run for president. He will run for president. They don't text me anymore, though, by the way. They do not text me anymore. They texted me once, and I think I said something like, Gavin Newsom has lost my support. I forget what the straw was that broke the camel's back, but I was like, Gavin Newsom will never get my support again in any capacity. Anyway, that's a side thing. Let's go to the other domestic what the hell story. I don't know which one's crazier here. I mean, it's hard, but this is out of Kentucky. Kentucky, a state that has a lot of issues with poverty, a lot of issues with just quality of life in a lot of parts of the state. Here's what they think is important to focus on. Kentucky Republican pushes bill to make sex with first cousin not incest. This is real. This is not The Onion, folks. This is not The Onion. This is a real headline. Totally not The Onion. A Kentucky Republican introduced legislation that would amend the state's law so a person who had sex with their first cousin would no longer be criminally liable for incest. Can you imagine the protests in favor of this? Or the rallies, I guess? Just people out there just my cousin's hot. Before withdrawing it and claiming an error was made during the drafting process. House Bill 269, which State Representative Nick Wilson sponsored, was introduced on January 16th to the House Committee on Committees. According to the Kentucky General Assembly website, it would have struck first cousin from the list of family relationships defined as unlawful incest in the state. In a statement sent to Newsweek, Wilson described this as a mistake in a wider bill extended to extend legal protection against incest, which he'd withdrawn and refiled, leaving the first cousin reference in place. Wow. Now, here's the big question. This would have been the poll today. So, you know what? We'll do an informal poll. Do you believe him? Actually, Colin, can you make a poll? Is it too late? Can you do a really quick one? Do you believe this guy that it was a mistake? Yes or no? Can you do it? Colin left. Colin quick. Status coup. It's tragic. Colin, where'd you go? Come back. There he is.
I was just making the poll. It's posted now.
Yeah. Colin on the ones and twos. And mustache, looking great, buddy. You're crushing in the facial hair. I don't know. Do the other hosts tell you that enough?
Probably not enough.
That's wrong. Good thing I'm going to be here weekly, man, because I got you.
Yeah,
thank you for that, Colin. All right, everyone vote and vote quick. Hey, this is important. How do you make that mistake? How do you make the mistake of being like, we're taking that cousin part out? We're taking that cousin. You know what? It would be so funny. You know how sometimes when they rule on different laws, they try to give you folksy personal testimonials, and sometimes a politician does it. What would the folksy testimonial for this law be like? Look, one time when I was in my 20s, I accidentally walked in on my cousin and, saw them naked. And I was thinking I enjoyed that. Is that weird? And, I would have liked to have moved forward with that. I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's wrong. Okay, creepy pants, Bagoo. You guys know that there's a natural, there's a natural thing, there's a scientific term for it that I don't know off the top of my head. So I'm just going to describe it in my unscientific way. But there's a reason why we don't naturally why incest is so unnatural, other than just the obvious. You literally if you were ever to try to be intimate with a family member, there's an odor that will go off that would be unpleasant to you. It wouldn't be unpleasant to somebody who is not blood related to that person, but it would be unpleasant to you. I don't know how they prove that scientifically. I don't know how they conducted that study, but apparently that's a legit science thing. They would give off a smell that you would not like. All right. I think I've made the point. I feel like we get it, Rod. I think you're over explaining it. I'm still explaining it to you. I'm just look, if you tried to have sex with your sibling, you'd be like, did somebody fart? It wouldn't be pleasant for you. Wow, okay, we're really getting in the weeds. All right. So, well, let's see what. So, by the way, here's who this guy is, too, by the way, the sponsor of this bill. Wilson, then a 27-year-old public defender, first shot to prominence when he won the 37th season of the CBS reality TV show Survivor in 2018, called Survivor, David versus Goliath. So this guy was a reality TV dude, and then he returned for the 40th season. Wilson ran unopposed for the 82nd district of the Kentucky House after Republican incumbent Regina Huff retired. If somebody read this article, they would not for 1 second think it's real. Like, oh yeah, they said it's okay to bone your cousins. Then they were like, no, just kidding. That was an accident. By the way, the guy who did all this was a reality TV show star who ran unopposed. This sounds like something that would have been pitched for The Onion, this entire thing. But this is real. So here's the details here. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of incest if they engage in sexual relations with a person they know to be his or her parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, great-grandparent, great-grandchild, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, brother, sister, first cousin, ancestor, or descendant. The initial amendment introduced by Wilson, if passed, would have removed first cousin from the list. They thought it over. Both the initial and updated versions of Wilson's bill would also amend Kentucky law on parole for violent offenders to include a person who has been convicted of incest by sexual contact within the definition. In a statement provided to Newsweek, Wilson described the part. Okay, here, let's listen to his thing. Okay, here's his statement on this quote unquote mistake. I filed HB 269 yesterday. Now, how crazy is it that 69's in the frickin' bill number? How crazy is that? How is this not an onion piece? Are we sure? Oh, man, what if this was? What if this was an onion piece and Newsweek fucked up? Are we sure this is? I mean, just seems too unreal. A reality TV show star accidentally takes first cousin out of an incest bill in Kentucky, of all places. There's the number 69 in the frickin' bill. Oh, man. What if we just got punked? What if we just got punked? All right. We're still going to read his quote. I filed HB 269 yesterday. The purpose of this bill is to add sexual contact to the incest statute. Currently, incest only applies in cases of intercourse. So sexual touching, groping by uncles, stepdads, or anyone with a family relationship is not included in incest. My bill that makes that kind of sexual contact a Class D felony unless the victim is under the age of 12. Then it increases the penalty to a Class C felony. All right, so somehow he left cousin off the list. Here's this explanation. During the drafting process, there was an inadvertent change. I mean, who doesn't try to copy and paste something and somehow you just leave out the words first and cousin? I mean, you just sort of highlight something and hit Control C, but somehow cousin got left out. No idea. There was an inadvertent change which struck first cousins from the list of relationships included under the incest statute, and I failed to add it back in. During today's session, I will withdraw HB 269, ayo, and refile a bill with the first cousin language intact. The fact that I was able to file a bill, catch the mistake, withdraw the bill. Oh, he's patting himself on the back. Look, he pats himself on the back for this. The fact that I was able to file a bill, catch the mistake, withdraw the bill, and refine it within a 24-hour period shows that we have a good system. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. Hold on. I have to make sure. Incest bill. All right. I have to, please. Okay. All right. The Guardian is reporting this. Fox News is reporting this. People Magazine, USA Today. All right. This was not the Onion pulling a fast one on everybody. This did actually happen, as ridiculously unbelievable as the whole thing sounds. Wow. Wow. All right. We're going to go to the chat. Then we'll go to the result of the poll. And I'll say that I don't believe him. I think that was the kind of compromise. He was kind of like, okay, we're gonna crack down on incest, but to not lose the incest crowd, we're gonna make cousins okay. I honestly think that's what he was trying to do. As disgusting and repulsive as that is, I truly believe that's what was going down. I don't think it was a mistake. Then he got so much pushback, he had to walk it back. Carney Verdi, what's up? Never forget that Biden said that even if somehow miraculously a Medicare for All bill passed the House and Senate, he would refuse to sign it because how can we pay for it? Yeah, he promised to veto it. That was one of the promises I think you could have counted on him to keep. If Medicare for All would have came across his desk, he would have vetoed it. Democracy is on the line. Most of the country wants Medicare for all. Biden promised to veto it. Doesn't give a shit what you think. David Hunter, what's up? Hope all is well in New York City. Death equals profits. Yep. That's how an economy of war goes down. Let's see. Shane, what's up, buddy? Thank you for your super chat contribution. How's it going, Shane McAndrew? I hope you're well. Remember Soledad O'Brien called Bernie racist, but defended Biden, you ain't black. Yeah, I remember that. They called Bernie Sanders. I don't remember the context in which he called Bernie racist. That I remember that it happened. I don't remember the context of that, but I do remember the whole when Biden did the whole, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And everybody said that was okay. That was somehow okay. This is an interesting one. Joshua, what's up? Thank you for the super chat contribution. If there was a biopic about January 6th, would you see it? And who would you want to star in it? Who? Well, I could use a gig, so I would like to star in it. No, just kidding. Well, to answer your question, would I see it? It depends on who's in it. Or not who's in it. It depends on who's making it. If the Daily Wire is making it, I would probably pass. If just a regular kind of studio was making it, I'd be curious. If somebody like Adam McKay was making it, I would for sure see it. Who would I want to star in it? You know what? I would want to see all of the Trumper actors star in it. I would want to see like Vince Vaughn. I would want to see, what's the guy's name? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank to the actor's name. Oh, that's gonna bother me. Chris Pratt. I'd want to see Chris Pratt in it. I'd want to see who are some of the other like Trumper and then I'd want to see January 6th. You know what I would want to see? I would want to see Winona Ryder play that girl who remember that girl got maced throughout the whole thing and she went viral and she got like some mace hit her and they did that video where she was being interviewed and she goes, somebody maced me. And they were like, what were you doing? And she was like, I was running into the Capitol. They were like, well, why were you doing that? And she goes, the revolution. And then somebody tweeted, Karen would like to speak to the manager of the revolution. Do you guys remember when that happened? I would want to see Winona Ryder play that character. Interesting question. I like that. Fiona, is that right? Is that Fiona? I think that's right. Jordan's piece on that today was excellent. Thank you for that, Fiona. Thank you very much. And yeah, Jordan has really done extraordinary work on Flint. Kudos to him for doing it. Michael Newman, what's up? Status Coup is one of the few progressive channels that stayed grounded and not lost their mind since the Bernie loss. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for that. I am still very frustrated by the Bernie loss, but but I'd like to think I've not lost my mind. So thank you for that. This is so nice of you, big dumb animal. Thank you very much for this. Only a moron wouldn't be excited about having more Ron on Status Coup. First of all, love the play on words. You know me. Second of all, thank you. Thank you, big dumb animal. I think going forward, my day is going to be Wednesdays. Typically, my day is going to be Wednesday. Status Lou, I think, is going to be busier with other things. So I'll be doing the Wednesdays fairly regularly. But once we know that for sure, I'll be announcing it. But it looks like that's what's going to happen. And I'm very excited. I love doing the shows here with y'all. I love being here. And I'm really excited to be back on a weekly basis. I'm super stoked. I hope you are as well. It was a mistake, meant to say sister. That's in regards to the bill. Despush Fleisch, what's up? Cousin Fackers getting legal. Yeah, well, apparently it was a mistake, though. Which, speaking of which, let's go to the results of the poll. Colin, how we looking? Colin?
All right. The poll results are, do you believe it was a mistake with 65 votes? yes was 27% and no was 72%.
That tracks. Yeah. I mean, I get how some people are like, oh, come on. I think it's a mistake. But then I get, yeah, I don't think it was. I'm in the no camp. Colin, wait, what's your vote? You have to say your vote.
I don't think it was a mistake.
You don't think so either? All right.
No.
So we got 2 no's. 2 no's. All right. So, guys, thank you again. Thank you, Shane, very much. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Big Dumb Animal. Thank you, Desbushfleisch. Thank you, everybody. Also, before I get out of here, I will make a few announcements. So, first of all, I got some screenings coming up and some screening/shows coming up for my movie Left at Wall. My movie is finished, and I'm excited for the world to see it. Maybe we'll do a member screening here at Status Coup. We're going to talk about that, but maybe we're going to have an exclusive member screening here at Status Coup. Another reason to join. But Tucson, Arizona, February 22nd, you can see my movie. It will be playing at the screening room on February 22nd. You can get tickets straight from my website, ronplacone.com. February 29th, Omaha, Nebraska. My movie will be screening in Omaha, Nebraska. March 20th, my movie will be screening in Washington, D.C., and that is a free screening. You can find information on my website, but that's free. So, hey, if you're in D.C., you get to see the movie for free on March 20th. March 22nd, I will be doing a show, a screening, and a Q&A after in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm actually going to be there. So I'll be in Pittsburgh on March 22nd. Get your tickets now, ronplacone.com. April 14th, I'll be doing a screening and a show and a Q&A in Los Angeles, California. Now, that's the big LA screening. It's at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. That's a Sunday, April 14th, 5 p.m., and we're going to have a lot of people on that show because it's going to feature cast members who were in the movie doing stand-up, and a lot of the cast was stand-up comedians. So we're going to have an awesome bill there. Once I've confirmed the lineup, I'll be announcing it. But get tickets for all those events at ronplacone.com. Oh, and also on January 30th, the Vertical series Frank Azzurri is going to premiere here on Status Coup. Some of you guys know I made a Vertical film. Some of the members have already gotten to see it, but we made a Vertical short. It premiered in Rome, and now that the premiere is over, we decided to make a series about it, and it's going to be housed right here on Status Coup. So the first episode happens on January 30th. We'll be dropping episodes every other week, and the first season is going to consist of 8 episodes. We are already 3 episodes deep, so really excited for you guys to see that. So again, you can follow me at Ron Placone on all social media platforms. Ron Placone is my personal YouTube channel. You can catch my new podcast, 1000 with Ron Placone, wherever you get your podcast, and on my YouTube channel as well. Again, statuscoup.com/join to support what we're doing here, to support on the ground journalism, and to keep independent media going. So yeah, thank you again to Shane, Joshua, Big Dumb Animal, Desbushfleisch. Hope all is fun where you all are at. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And this has been Ron Placone for Status Coup, signing out.